Hey y'all, welcome back to Planet Coaster Miniatures Fallen Rocks. In today's episode, I am working on the little village that's going to be built around the coaster. As I said in the previous episode, it's supposed to be sort of a Native American looking village, but at the same time, this is not really, I think, truthful to anything that was truly Native American. But we're just taking a little bit of artistic liberty here, a little bit of artistic license, and creating something that is more of an Ewok village, like I said before. I'm seeing a bunch of wooden structures, ramps, different types of buildings, and so forth. So in the last episode, I laid out the actual footprint of the village, and now I'm just starting to work on from one corner to the next. So what I'm seeing here is maybe because a lot of this is up in the air, maybe they have something to pull up supplies and so forth. So I use one of the standard pieces just on the end there so that they can pull up supplies to their village. And then I also found this rope bridge. Like I said before, I have not used the adventure pack very much. So a lot of this was just experimenting and finding pieces that I thought would go well with this. I did use these logs, these half logs, as the support structures, but I'm not 100% sold on that. I don't think that's the look I'm going for to start with. I think they're just a little bit too large. So I'll probably change that in the future to something a little bit smaller. And what I'm starting to work on now is one of the main structures of the building. I figured if there was a village here, these people would need houses or some sort of structures that they stayed in. So this is based on two things. First, you can see it's, well, actually three things if you think about it. The general shape is very derivative of the trees that are surrounding the village, and I wanted to do that because I thought it was harmonious with the nature around it, which would make it blend in a little better and make it seem like it was all one part of the scene. At the same time, there is also a house that I pass every day on the way to and from work that looks an awful lot like this. It's a very unusual house. So I thought, hey, that kind of fits in there. It would kind of fit in with what I was trying to do here. And the third thing I saw was I actually did a Google search for, well, first I did Native American structures and so forth, and I didn't really find anything that it was exactly what I was looking for. So when I got the idea to kind of use the Ewok village as an inspiration, I did a search for that, and I found some concept art for that village, and it included a structure similar to this. So those three things together, I thought, well, this is definitely one structure I want to create for this, and I'll probably use it 2 or 3 times around the village itself. So it's basically sort of almost a Christmas tree looking building, but I like the way it looks once I finish it up here. It's going to have some windows. You'll see these are the windows that I'm putting in right now, and it's going to have a type of shutter over top of them. It almost looks like a lookout point or something like that to me. So I'm pretty happy with the way this came out overall. I'll definitely make some other adjustments, other types of buildings to go along in here, so it's not just all one style. But for now, this is a good start for this. So I'm just going to finish this up, and then in the coming episodes, I'm going to work on tunnels for the ride. Right now, the coaster just goes through a cave, and that's just not very realistic. I mean, for safety reasons, obviously, it would have to be cement or something like that. So I'm going to work on building that and continue work on the village, finish up the water feature, because I did get a comment on one of the forums, which I had already anticipated, was that the river that we put in the last episode, it would all pool at the bottom of that cave, so I have to finish that up a little bit. So there's still a lot of work to do on this, but so far I'm liking the way it's coming out. Like I said in the last episode, I was getting a little where am I going to take this? That's what I was thinking. Like, what am I going to do with this? I don't know. I didn't have a full idea of what I wanted to do with this, but just kept working and trying. And I think I've got more of an idea now. So you can see that I am using the technique that was made popular by several other YouTubers. I think certainly I learned it from Silverette. And something doesn't go quite right with the technique this time. I was having a hard time getting it to match up. I probably did something wrong, but oh well, I got it in the end to work out just fine. And just to make sure that the building was totally complete, I went ahead and added this custom sort of ceiling to it, just to make sure it looked complete if anyone actually looked at it. And you probably noticed too that I left a little bit of a gap at the top, and my theory behind that was that in order to keep warm and so forth, they would have fires in this building, and the smoke would need somewhere to go. So that was an area where the smoke could actually leave the building. And later on in this episode, I actually do add a little bit of smoke up there coming out just to make it a little bit more realistic. So this took some time, but once it's done, I'm pretty happy with it. I made a copy of it and moved one of them over by the first drop. I also put these white lights on it. I've been doing this for a while in my parks, outlining everything in these white lights. I'm not 100% sold on this. I know that we're dealing with a theme park ride here, and it probably would be covered in these lights. So I'm not 100% sold on this. I don't know if I like this or not. I test it out here in a minute in the dark to see what it looks like. We'll see. I added some other lights too as well, which obviously there's going to be plenty of lighting around this whole structure. But we'll see how that looks. I'm not 100% sold on that, and if it doesn't look right, I'll go back and take them all off. But for now, I'm making the bottom part of the building where people will be able to come in and out. And for a brief moment here, I put up a little animatronic person just to make sure it's to scale. And then I also put some lighting around it. One thing I should mention is I think the lighting in Planet Coaster is great. They do a really good job of it. I'm personally not fond of the yellowish cast that a lot of the light gives off, and there's a very specific reason for that. It really reminds me of a Thomas Kinkade painting, which he's not one of my favorite artists, and it's just kind of hokey, I think. But in a game like this, obviously it's fine. It's a sort of warm looking and inviting. But there's just something about it I don't particularly care for that much. But in this instance, I think it's appropriate because we're dealing with what I'm building here is a village that would most likely be lit by fire rather than by modern electricity, aside from these white lights we put on here, obviously, to decorate the thing. So I think it's appropriate in this instance. Normally what I tend to use is much more of white lighting in my parks. I've developed a few tricks of my own to create white light versus this yellow light, just because I really don't like the look of that white light. But I think it'll be appropriate here, so we'll see what it looks like when it's finished. So this floor that I made, I wanted something that was a little bit more rustic looking than the pieces that I had used to lay out the actual village footprint. And then I discovered, after I was playing around with it for a little while, I discovered just about right here in a minute after we finished putting up these fences, something that looked a pre-made piece that looked pretty much like what I was looking for. And here it is right here. So I don't know if I'm going to continue that custom floor or not. This to me probably will look all right, although the piece count does bring my total up a little bit higher and brings a lot more people in the park, so we'll see. But then I had to move all this over just to line it up correctly and so forth. So I don't know. We'll see how that works out. I think I might use something like that just to make it a little bit easier. And I put up the fence, make sure nobody falls off. So this is a pretty sophisticated little village here, even though it is all made of wood and so forth. But I like the look of it so far, and I kind of like the feel of the coaster running through it. Kind of like the Big Bad Wolf. I like that. I wasn't 100% planning that. It's just something that happened, but I'm pretty pleased with how it came out so far. So for now, I'm just going to finish up adding a little more foliage around here, I'll take a look at it at night really fast just to see if it looks like all right so far, and then that's pretty much it. So, like I said, in the next episode, we're going to continue working on this village, and we'll put up some tunnels and so forth, maybe some more lights, and all this is a work in progress. So we'll see where we go from here. But for now, it looks all right. So hang around. I'll see you next time, and until then, enjoy the ride.